She signed the divorce papers with the same pen that once wrote our vows, and in that cruel twist of ink on paper, everything we'd built crumbled within me. The quiet in the room was suffocating, as if every silent second was a nail in the coffin of us. The weight of the pen was the only thing anchoring me to reality as I watched her smooth, deliberate strokes turn our promises into dissolution. I'd signed everything out of love, believing in a future together. But now, those words on the page were cold and final. There was no tremor in her hand, no shadow of regret as she dotted her name across the divorce decree. How did everything change so quickly? I thought I knew her heart, but watching her, I realized I'd only been grasping illusions. The room felt void of warmth. The silence was deafening. Beneath the layer of shock, questions gnawed at my resolve. Why didn't she tell me? Why didn't I see it coming? Stepping through the threshold, I felt as if the air itself mourned. The familiar scent, once a comfort, was now a thin ghost whispering through barren rooms. Each creak of the floorboards echoed like a hesitant call across a chasm I wasn't ready to bridge. I froze, staring at the spot where her favorite chair had been, a halo of light revealing only the hollow silhouette etched in dust. Numbly, I advanced to where our laughter once mingled with the clinks of coffee cups. I reached out instinctively, fingertips brushing against cold, hard counters that had borne witness to countless sunlit mornings and candlelit conversations. Now they felt foreign, detached, as if denying familiarity. My heart pounded in my chest, insistent and accusatory, reminding me of the life that had flowed unbidden here, so rich and textured in memories. Now just memories. Each shadowed corner seemed to pull at me with invisible hands, urging me to fill the voids with echoes of what used to be. I ran my fingers over a stray book she had always left open on the arm of the sofa, instinctively expecting to feel the warmth of her presence. But instead, only the chill of absence greeted me. The intricate patterns of the rug beneath my feet felt like a map, a labyrinth of our shared stories. Sometimes, in our playful laziness, we would lie there and trace imaginary paths, dreaming up journeys we never took. I faltered, suffocated by the vividness of those idle dreams, now crumpled like dried leaves, scattered and unreachable. I wandered to the mantel, where photographs sat like sentinels, steadfastly holding onto fragments of joy. Her smile, captured in a flash of time, seemed to flicker, as if caught between realities. I touched the frame gingerly, half dreading that to touch it was to erase it, yet yearning for the connection it promised. Her eyes, always bright, held a laughter that now laced itself with haunting echoes, teasing the line between memory and fantasy. A shiver traced its way up my spine, my body reacting to the expectancy of her voice. I half turned, stupidly eager to hear her call my name, to break this oppressive quietness with her familiar intonation. But the silence remained unyielding, a tyrant unadorned by mercy as it pressed down on me, enveloping all in its tyrannical embrace. I stood in the cavernous quiet, confronting the relentless truth. She was no longer here to fill these familiar spaces with her life. Every shadow seemed darker, each moment stretching endlessly without her illumination. I lingered a moment longer, feeling the weight of all that had been and all that would never be again. The walls shivered with our past, and I turned away, unable to face the empty spaces she once painted with color, now left gray and cold without her. I stood in our old bedroom, uncertain why I'd wandered back here. Maybe it was the recurring need to touch the remnants of us, like an old scar you can't help but trace with your fingers. The dresser, untouched for months, seemed to call out, a fixture of promises we once made. I tugged the top drawer open, half expecting to be ambushed by forgotten memories. But the drawer was as I'd left it, cluttered and dusty, home to orphaned socks and useless scraps of paper. My eye caught something wedged deep at the back, a corner of an envelope, yellowed with neglect. My heart drummed as I pried it free. Her handwriting sang out from the front. My name. Bold, confident loops I'd once watched her form on our wedding invitations. The paper crinkled under my grip, snapping with an audible ache of the past, daring me to peel it open. Inside, nestled against the aged pages, was her wedding ring. I held it gently, turning it over in my palm, a dull, circular weight of memory. It was unnaturally cold, its shimmer faded. How could something so small hold such gravity, such an unspoken weight of betrayal. A hollow void seemed to echo through the room, expanding to fill every corner with the silence of what we had lost. The letter taunted me, her words lying just beyond my reach, yet already feeling like confessions whispered between broken sobs. I drew a deep breath, the scent of dust mingling with the faintest trace of her perfume that lingered in the room like a ghost. Her voice came alive through the ink, each word trembling on the edge of a precipice I dreaded yet longed to plunge into. Apologies intertwined with memories, etching images of laughter that tasted bitter now. There were mentions of dreams we once shared, tarnished now, replaced by secrets and lies that crept like shadows between lines filled with what-ifs and maybes. I imagined how she must have sat, pen shaking, pausing between words as though to reorder her heart before committing it to paper. I could almost hear her sighs, could almost feel the hesitation in her pen strokes, torn between saying enough and leaving things unsaid. The ring, still in my hand, coldly pressed against my skin, stung like an accusation. I closed my fist around it, as if to hold on to something real, while the letter dangled from my other hand, a testament to her absence, a bridge between the girl I once loved and the stranger she had become. A part of me wished to hate her, to crumple the letter, toss the ring into the abyss of our past. But I couldn't. With each written word, a glimmer of her remained, a fragile thread tethering me to the hope of understanding why she chose to leave me behind. The bathroom light flickered uncertainly, catching the edges of my reflection with each inconsistent pulse. I stood there, staring into my own eyes, trying to see past the surface. Each time I focused, they seemed colder, more distant. A chill washed over me, but it was less about the room and more about the raw confrontation between me and the man on the other side of the mirror. "What did you do wrong?" I whispered to him, that stranger who mocked every attempt I made to reconcile the differences between what I felt and what I saw. My voice was barely audible against the distant hum of pipes and the occasional creak of the house settling, but the words echoed loudly in my mind. I leaned in closer, catching the slight condensation from my breath that clouded his image momentarily. My mind raced through a catalog of mistakes, regrets, and missteps, each one more vicious than the last. Every decision that led me here, standing alone beneath unforgiving fluorescent light, seemed to weave itself into a tapestry of self-loathing. I felt each thread cut deeper, engraving a story of failure across my skin. If the mirror served as a window, surely it would have shown hands that trembled with uncertainty, eyes burdened with the weight of unyielding shame. But all it disclosed was a collection of life's bruises hidden beneath layers of attempted composure. I traced my fingers across the cold glass, trying to feel for a crack, a fissure that might explain this disconnection. "Who are you?" The reflection's lips moved in unison with mine, an eerie synchrony that only added to the growing dissonance. There was no accusation in the words, only a desperate plea for clarity, for the simplest recognition of self that seemed always out of reach. But the silence that followed my question was profound and unyielding. My mind drifted to images of the past, faces of those I loved, those I hurt, and promises made that now lay shattered at my feet. Each image flickered by like an old reel, grainy and tinged with sepia, blurring the line between memory and dream. The bathroom's harsh lighting became the projector of my failures. I slapped the edge of the sink, the sharp sound punctuating the room, yet failing to disrupt the internal dialogue that persisted relentlessly. Each beat of my pulse seemed to sync with the chaos in my chest, a rhythm that both anchored and unraveled me. The mirror offered no respite, no revelation, yet I stood transfixed, unwilling to look away, as if the very act of acknowledging the turmoil could unveil an epiphany. But as the flickering light settled into a steady glow, the stranger in the glass remained obstinately silent. It was an unfinished conversation, the answer to a question I didn't know how to ask. I turned away, leaving him there, knowing that the next time I returned, he would be waiting, our silent discussion far from over. "Did she ever tell you about him?" my friend asked, and the room tilted under the weight of her words. I'd been scraping at my bowl of soup, the metal spoon clattering against porcelain like the ticking of a bomb. Claire had invited me over, an attempt to lift my spirits after weeks of avoidance. I strained to breathe. "What are you talking about?" "Claire," oblivious to the battle raging inside my chest, placed a hand on my arm, laughter and innocence waltzing across her features. "Oh, don't play coy. You know, that guy from her office. The one she's been chatting about." She took a sip of her wine, eyes glinting with ignorant mischief. My mind clawed for footing, the smiles we shared during evening walks, the quiet assurances beneath the stars, suddenly felt like smoke in the wind. Claire was still rambling, her words cutting through the stupor like a surgeon's blade. She'd mentioned how funny he was, and how they'd grab drinks sometimes after work. Each word was a tiny hammer, relentless and slick with pain. I dropped the spoon, its clatter reverberating against the unsteady walls of my chest. Claire paused, her laughter dying in the strain of my silence. "Wait, you didn't know?" Noise, a distant roar, filled my ears. I could only focus on my breathing, how it fought its way past my throat, raw and strained. "No," I managed, the single word teetering off my lips like a treacherous pebble on a steep slope. Color drained from Claire's face, horror replacing her earlier mirth. "Oh God, I'm so sorry," she gasped. But the pity in her eyes sickened me even more, like salt poured straight onto an open wound. I stood up sharply, the chair scraping against the floor, screeching in protest. "I need to go," I muttered, the air in the room thick with awkwardness and regret. My legs moved on their own, some survivor instinct propelling me towards the exit. Outside, the afternoon sun was glaring and unforgiving, turning my skin to brittle paper. I stumbled forward, thoughts unraveling and tangling with each step. The truth was there, confirmed by the casual honesty of a friend. It could no longer be ignored nor excused. The sidewalk was speckled with the passing shadows of strangers, but I hardly noticed. My world had narrowed to a tunnel of disbelief and betrayal, her voice mingling with his in all the places I thought were woven for just the two of us. Finally, I stood at the precipice of understanding, the enormity of it all crashing over me like surf against jagged rocks. There was anger simmering beneath the surface, claiming its space next to the sickness of realization. Anger at her for hollowing out the meaning of our shared moments. Anger at Claire for forcing open my eyes to see the lie. Anger at myself for being so easily played. I turned, footsteps heavy with all that remained unsaid, and headed into the distance, every step a silent scream. Raindrops fell like daggers as I fought through the storm, seeking clarity in the downpour, but finding only more questions. The wind howled like a lunatic whispering in my ear, weaving tales of betrayal I didn't want to believe. Each gust seemed to shove me back, a force as relentless as the thoughts ricocheting inside my skull. The streets were nearly deserted, as if the city itself had retreated from the chaotic clash between sky and earth. Water pooled at every curb, and each step splashed through puddles that swallowed my shoes, leaving my feet sodden and cold. Night had draped its curtain over the city, smudging the lights into ghostly blurs, distant and unreachable. I pulled my collar tighter against the wind's sharp bite, but nothing could insulate me from the chill of realization sinking into my bones. The betrayal gnawed at my thoughts like a relentless rat, each memory tainted now, each shared moment a lie. I couldn't shake the image of their faces blurred by the window panes of the cafe where I saw them, laughing, conspiratorial, breaking something delicate inside me. Lightning flared, illuminating the soaked streets in stark flashes, revealing the tangle of emotions beneath the surface. Angry questions echoed in the storm's roar. Why them? Why now? Anger surged, but it drowned quickly in the deluge of confusion and despair. What had I missed? What moments had slipped past my trust-blinded eyes? A bus rumbled by, churning the rain into mist. Its lights cast brief shadows across faces hidden beneath hoods and umbrellas, sheltering secrets and silent battles against the storm. I envied them, these anonymous figures. They knew nothing of the betrayal lurking in my life, could walk home oblivious, unburdened. The rain, relentless and mocking, streamed down my face, mingling with the tears I refused to acknowledge. Each drop seemed a cruel reminder that my heart was as exposed as the storm-torn city. I wished for some sign, something tangible to hold on to, a beacon in the tempest. I stopped, standing still as the storm surged around me. The wind screamed past, ruffling my hair and swaying the trees overhead, their branches clawing at the darkened sky. It was as if the world itself were tearing apart, mirroring the fracture within me. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the rain blur reality into a muted wash of sound and sensation. In that brief, suspended moment, barely there, flickered a whisper of resolve, a small, solid spark amid the chaos. I couldn't piece everything together yet. The storm within was too ferocious, but it was a start. I opened my eyes, glancing down the street, and began slowly walking again. The downpour showed no sign of letting up, and as I trudged on, I realized neither did I. As I step into the warmth of my favorite cafe, the bitter chill of the outside world still clings to me. I hesitate near the door, letting the familiar aroma of roasted coffee and freshly baked bread wash over me. It's a tangible comfort that cuts through the knots in my stomach, tethering me back to a time that felt simpler, less fractured. I maneuver to my corner, the one isolated table that feels like it's always waiting for me, and settle in, my back facing the rest of the world. I pull my hands around the cup of coffee, its heat penetrating the cold skin, grounding me in the here and now. The weight in my chest loosens, just a little, promising a temporary reprieve. As I sit, a flicker of movement catches my eye from a few tables over. An elderly couple, seated directly under the soft glow of an overhead light, their heads angled slightly toward each other. They're not talking. It's the silence between them that compels my attention, that strange absence of need. The way they sit, not quite touching but undeniably together, is a tableau of quiet companionship. I watch as their eyes meet, a scant trace of a smile at the corners of their lips. There's a history there, a shared understanding that needs no words. Their hands are steady, hers reaching for her cup in a slow, familiar motion, his folded on the table, fingers drumming out a rhythm that only she knows. It feels like witnessing a dance, an intimate choreography honed over years, as natural as breathing. For a moment, envy stabs at me, sharp and unbidden. It's impossible not to reflect on what I've lost, the gaping absence that follows me like a shadow. But as I continue to watch, that bitterness slowly begins to melt away, leaving a void that doesn't feel so desperate. Here is what I wanted all along. Not a love that clutches or demands, but simply a presence, consistent and forgiving. Watching them share silence without sadness, I understand that sometimes love is simply being, not possessing. This truth unfolds within me, delicate yet undeniable, like a bloom finally turning its face to the sun after years in the shade. The tightrope of longing within me starts to slacken, replaced by acceptance. The elder couple anchoring my attention becomes a beacon of what might, still, be possible. Life, with all its untidy complexities, might yet hold a strand of hope, a path toward healing. My gaze softens as I lift my cup in a silent salute to the possibility of quiet happiness. As I rise to leave, the air seems lighter around me. I carry their quiet elegance with me like a balm against the raw edges of my existence. One step at a time, I tell myself, one silent step toward peace. I'm standing at the altar, my heart drumming a frantic pace against my ribs. Sunlight pours through stained glass, painting the air in vibrant hues. It feels unreal, a picture-perfect moment, and yet I'm here, alive within it. My gaze moves to her as she glides down the aisle, radiant and serene, her smile a beacon of warmth in a sea of expectant faces. But then, as she reaches me, a chill schemes across my skin like errant whispers, and the warmth dissipates. Her smile twists, blurring at the edges as if in a cracked mirror. I blink, and when I look again, her eyes are filled with something unfathomable, a depth I hadn't seen before, or hadn't allowed myself to see. She opens her mouth to begin her vows, but her voice is not the sweet melody I expected. "Do you take me?" she begins, her tone weaving between caress and condemnation. To have and to hold, in truth, in deception? The words knot in my stomach. I try to respond, but my voice is swallowed by the sudden heaviness in the air. She continues, her whispers turning into echoing laughter. It's a laugh that slices through the dream, echoing with chilling clarity, resonating like a truth I've been too blind to see. The church shifts, the walls breathing like a living entity, closing in. Her dress changes, fabric unraveling, strands of silk turning into ivy that entwines, constricting her. The crowd, once filled with smiling faces, becomes a blur of distorted features, mocking and judging. I try to reach out, to touch her, to find anchorage in this dissolving reality, but my hands move through mist, fingers passing through her like smoke. I'm here, I insist, my voice weak, pleading against the unraveling scene. I see you. I do. Her eyes lock onto mine, penetrating, dissecting. Did you really? She asks, her voice no longer warm. It's cold, accusatory. Each word a dagger of truth that pierces deeper, drawing out fears I had buried. She's not the bride I remember. She's a specter, a ghost conjured from the recesses of guilt and missed signs. The aisle stretches infinitely behind us, a void I somehow know is filled with moments I missed, warnings I ignored, realities I pretended weren't true. Each step she takes toward it frays the illusion further, the dream disintegrating into fragments of memory wrapped in darkness. No, I shout, my desperation clawing its way up my throat. But she's already fading, her laughter a haunting reminder of everything I failed to notice, everything I deceived myself into believing. The world spins, and I'm left alone at the altar, surrounded by silence, the echoes of her laughter fading into nightmare. The truth hangs in the stillness, heavy, undeniable, waiting for me to finally see it all. The drive home felt like navigating through molasses. My thoughts were sluggish, stuck on repeat, a constant loop of what-ifs and why-nots. Every streetlight seemed to mock me, bathing the car interior with flickers of fluorescence that seemed more penetrating than comforting. As I turned into the driveway, my heart began the wretched dance of too many emotions, fear, anger, guilt, an unwelcome symphony playing inside my chest. I shoved open the front door, a heavy sigh escaping as the familiar scent of our home enveloped me. It didn't soothe, it stung, like a reminder of everything we'd shared. I resisted the urge to call her name, aware of what would greet me, silence. On the table, her laptop lay open, facing me like a judge ready to pass a verdict. The screen glowed, drawing me to it. Hesitant, I stepped forward, recognizing her handwriting on a post that stuck to the hinge. 2 words, watch me. I sank into the chair, the worn upholstery cradling my tentative form. With fingers trembling, I clicked play. The screen flickered before her image appeared, heartbreakingly familiar, yet devastatingly distant. Her eyes, deep wells of warmth and history, stared back at me. I could see the weight of unspoken words resting in the depths. Her voice began, a soft, haunting melody. Hey, love. Instinctively, I leaned closer. Each word came out as if she were sitting beside me, and not an image on a screen. Her voice, once a balm, now spoke of new paths, of needs unmet, leaving me with echoes of a life I no longer recognized. I know you're probably angry, hurt, confused even, but I need you to understand, it wasn't about us not trying. I need you to see that. Look at me, really see me. Her gaze pierced through the pixels, bearing a truth I had been too afraid to accept. I blinked, feeling the tight burn behind my eyes. As she talked, memories flitted through my mind, golden mornings filled with laughter, nights tangled with whispered dreams. Yet here was her voice, peeling away the layers of our life together to reveal a void neither of us had dared to acknowledge. Each revelation hit me, small hammers chiseling away at the facade I'd clung to. I wanted you to be happy, as much as I needed it for myself, she continued, her lips curving into a sad, knowing smile. Her words painted a picture of 2 parallel lives, intertwined but distant, seeking autonomy in a world we had built around unity. The video came to a close. Her parting words, "I'm sorry and I love you," lingered in the air, an echo threading through the solitude of the room. I sat there, heart unraveled. The video a catalyst not for more questions or blame, but a stark clarity. Deep breath. It was time to breathe again, to mourn, to heal. I closed the laptop, standing on the precipice of a new beginning, feet hesitating to move, but heart slowly embracing what lay ahead. The morning light nudges my eyes open with a persistent gentleness that's almost annoying. I pull myself out of bed and walk to the window, dragging the blanket around me like it might protect me from what waits out there. The city sprawls out in front of me, quiet and as still as my heart pretends to be. This is how it starts, I think. This is how you keep going when she's no longer here. The dawn is barely a hint on the horizon, a streak of pale blue cutting through the night. I lean my forehead against the cool glass, breathing fog onto it. I half expect to see her reflection beside mine, maybe stretching her arms up in that lazy, half-asleep way she always did. But it's just me, alone. My chest tightens with the thought, like it has 100 times since she left, but today there's something different. I don't flinch away from it. Instead, I let myself sink into that space where she used to be. There's a lingering echo of her laughter, as clear as if she's whispered it into my ear, and for a moment, I allow myself the illusion that she's still here, that nothing's changed. But then, with the kind of sudden clarity that only comes when you're completely still, I understand something new. Endings aren't moments you only dread. They can become the soil from which something entirely fresh and vital emerges. I didn't choose this ending, but standing here, breathing in this honest, cold morning air, a daring thought inches its way into my mind. Beginnings don't ask for permission. They just are. The sky begins to glow a little, the first beams of sun scattering flecks of pink and gold across the sky. It's quiet, like the world is holding its breath, waiting with me. I roll the blanket tighter around my shoulders, closing my eyes. The tightness in my chest loosens, just a fraction, and I hear my own breath, hear it as if for the first time. Deep, steady, like the slow unfurling of paper. The loneliness isn't gone. I doubt that it ever will be. But in its place, there's room for other things now. For hope, maybe. For whatever comes next. I open my eyes, braver, more willing to face the day. To face whatever shape her absence will take today. And then, just like that, the sun spills over the horizon, bold and unforgiving. It slices across the sky in a way that demands to be seen. My breath catches in my throat, a knot of feelings both new and raw, but I don't turn away. I stand there and take it in, every last moment, until finally, I feel the delicate tug of wonder, a barely there whisper against years of practiced silence.